It is so interesting to be here on the floor and to listen to a variety of ideas and to know that across the country people are logging on and they are tuning in and they're watching how we go about our business. And one of the things that is so interesting is we pull the internet and online activity into our lives and stay connected. We sometimes enjoy the idea of just unplugging for a weekend, going somewhere in the country that holds a really special appeal. And certainly at this time of year, people will talk about going away for Thanksgiving, or maybe they went away during the fall to look at pretty leaves. And they see it as an escape and maybe even an opportunity to get just a little bit of smugness in their tone when they talk about they have chosen a destination that has politely informed them not to expect Wi-Fi and not to expect that internet connection. But here's a question for you. How many would make that trip, but still knowing there's not that connection, they take the smartphone, the iPad, or the laptop anyway? Of course we know we all do that, and after all, we've been trained to respond to the buzzing, beeping, and the ringing of our devices. And so eventually, what happens is we give up and we start wandering around, searching for a signal, and then declaring to all of the very unimpressed locals, well, I don't see how y'all do it without being able to have access to high-speed internet. How can you survive without broadband? Well, to my colleagues, let me say this. They do it because they do not have a choice. You know, these days encountering so much as a spotty cell signal causes concern for those of us who are accustomed to that high-speed internet and broadband connectivity. But I will tell you, there are millions of Americans out there for whom a broadband connection or even the pop and hiss of a dial-up connection is completely out of reach. In a world where even simple online interactions require lightning-fast connections, economies in rural America are falling behind. We read every day about entire industries setting up shop in budding metropolises like Nashville, Tennessee. But to many, corporate America's glowing new hubs sound like remote outposts compared to the familiar crush that is here on the eastern seaboard. Our perspective is skewed. Even so, businesses move inward because they see potential for growth with a minimal risk. But there's only so far that they can push it. Rural communities don't have much to offer in terms of operational support or a reliable customer base, and most of them lack a crucial resource: the funding and infrastructure to back reliable broadband services. It's true. The cloud needs a physical connection to planet Earth, and broadband networks rely on physical internet exchange points. Without these hubs, subscribers of different internet providers can't communicate with one another. While many businesses are certainly capable of fronting the cost associated with building the actual exchange points and running connections to other hubs, there's no incentive for them to gamble on a stagnant economy. So they go elsewhere, and local businesses go nowhere, unable to expand into the global online marketplace. And just to think, a decade ago, we wasted an opportunity to bridge the digital divide, to even close the digital divide. Back in 2009, during the stimulus days, President Barack Obama signed an economic recovery package that included $7.2 billion to expand broadband services in underserved areas. Well, predictably, those dollars began to flow into urban and suburban areas, leaving rural communities stranded on the far side of a gulf that Washington had ended up widening. Mistakes were made, but it would be an even bigger mistake to make rural residents suffer through it. This year, I introduced the Bipartisan Internet Exchange Act in an effort to get the Senate talking about broadband accessibility. When passed, the bill will offset the startup cost of establishing broadband connections via a series of grants reserved exclusively for unserved rural areas. That is, unserved rural areas, those that have been left out, those that did not benefit from the $7.2 billion that President Obama put in the stimulus for broadband expansion. They didn't get any of that money. They got left further behind and pushed further out of the economic mainstream for the 21st century. As with any program, infrastructure alone is no guarantee of success, but the presence of new and expanded internet exchange facilities will create a stronger and more competitive web. More hubs will enable faster data transmissions, allowing local businesses to expand, and in rural communities, e-commerce to flourish. Farmers, manufacturers, miners will gain access to state-of-the-art technologies that support safer and more productive operations. Medical practitioners will be able to care for neglected populations via telehealth and telemedicine. Schools and libraries will have advanced educational tools to their fingertips and to open the world to their students. The local law enforcement will add an important tool in their public safety toolbox. Businesses looking to lay down roots will notice that rural communities are investing in themselves and hopefully make the decision to bring jobs and business opportunities to local workers and to rural America. But perhaps most importantly, rural residents and their guests will be able to decide for themselves whether they want to connect or unplug, and they'll be able to do it on their own terms.